Benjamin Franklin. Okay, you know the name, right? You've seen his face on the $100 bill. But what if I told you he wasn't just a collection of famous jobs, but the actual chief architect of America's entire identity? Let's dive in and uncover the master plan.
So, if you ask people who was Ben Franklin, you get this list, right? Printer, scientist, diplomat, inventor. And yeah, he was all those things. But just listing his jobs, it kind of misses the real story. There was a single, huge project that tied it all together. Because if you look closer, you discover the real Benjamin Franklin, the architect.
And you see, his grand project started way before the Revolution. His first act of architecture, it wasn't with bricks and mortar, it was with character. He set out to deliberately shape a new kind of American citizen, and his tool was the most powerful one he knew, the printing press.
And you can totally see how his strategy changed over time. He started out as this anonymous teenage troublemaker, silenced all good, secretly writing satire that poked the Boston establishment in the eye. But he got smarter. Poor Richard's Almanack? Wow, that was way more than just a calendar. It was a cultural juggernaut that basically wrote the instruction manual for the American dream. Hard work, saving your money, all that. And it was a huge hit, selling something like 10,000 copies a year, which was massive back then. He figured out that to really shape a society, quiet wisdom could be way more powerful than loud rebellion.
And this is the thing about Franklin. He didn't just talk about making things better. He built the systems to make it happen. It all started with this small club for tradesmen he called the Junto. The idea was simple. They'd pool their books to learn from each other. Well, that little idea led directly to America's very first subscription library. And then he just scaled up the blueprint. He used that same model to help create a university, the nation's first hospital, a volunteer fire company, and even an insurance company. I mean, he was literally building the infrastructure of a modern city from scratch. Okay, so he applied this blueprint to society. But he did the exact same thing with the natural world. See, for Franklin, science wasn't some stuffy, abstract thing. It was a mission to improve daily life, and this was huge for him, to keep the public safe.
You have to remember, before Franklin, our understanding of electricity was kind of a mess. Then he comes along with his unitary fluid theory, and it's a total game changer. He basically said, hey, what if there's just one electrical fluid? If you have too much of it, you're positive. Not enough, and you're negative. Just think about that for a second. The words we use every single day, positive, negative, he came up with those. That's his language.
All right, so when I say Franklin and electricity, what pops into your head? It's this image, isn't it? The kite, the key, and a massive bolt of lightning striking it from the sky. It's an awesome story.
But it's not exactly what happened. Let's be real. If that kite got zapped by a full bolt of lightning, well, we wouldn't be talking about Ben Franklin today. The real story is actually way cooler and way smarter. He flew the kite up into the storm clouds to collect the ambient electrical charge on the wet string, proving that lightning and electricity were the same thing. This shows you his real genius. He wasn't just a brilliant scientist, he was a brilliant storyteller. He knew how to package a complex idea to get everyone excited about it. And getting people excited was the whole point. The lightning rod, the super efficient Franklin stove, even bifocals. These weren't just theories. They solved real problems for real people. But look at this chart. The last column is the most important one. Refused to patent. On all of them, he believed inventions should be shared freely to benefit everyone. That was his whole deal. Progress over profit, every single time.
So for decades, Franklin thought of himself as a loyal British subject, just trying to improve things in the colonies. But then one single, brutal event changed everything. It's the moment that forged his identity as a true American revolutionary.
It all started with a big gamble. Franklin got a hold of some private letters from the royal governor of Massachusetts. The letters basically said the colonists' rights should be restricted. Franklin leaked them to leaders back in Boston thinking, I'll just give them a quiet heads up. Instead, the letters got published and the whole thing just exploded into a political firestorm.
Well, the British government was not happy. They were furious. So they haul him into this room, ominously called the cockpit, where the Solicitor General, Alexander Wedderburn, just tears him to shreds in public for a full hour, calling him a traitor and an incendiary. And Franklin had to just stand there in total silence and take it. This is the turning point. That public humiliation killed any hope he had for fixing things peacefully. Because he walked into that room a proud Englishman trying to patch up the system. He walked out a committed American ready to burn it all down. And from that day on,
Every single one of his talents, his writing, his strategy, his scientific mind, it was all aimed at one massive new project: building a country from the ground up. And man, his fingerprints are all over the founding of America. He edited the Declaration of Independence, making that brilliant little change from sacred and undeniable truths to self-evident truths, which grounded American rights in reason instead of religion. He went to France and got the alliance that won the war. He negotiated the peace treaty that ended it. And he was the wise old man at the Constitutional Convention holding it all together. Get this, he's the only person who signed all 4 of America's key founding documents, the only one. And in 1779, he made it official. He became America's #1, the first ever American minister or ambassador to be formally accepted by a foreign country.
So, how in the world did he pull this off? How did he get France on board? Simple. He used his celebrity status like a weapon. Think about it. He shows up to the super formal French court with all their fancy powdered wigs, wearing a simple fur cap. And the French went crazy for it. They saw him as this rustic genius from the New World. He became a superstar, and he played that Franklin mania perfectly to get to the king and secure the money and soldiers that America absolutely had to have to win. But even after all that, after the war was won and the nation was born, Franklin knew the job wasn't finished. There was a huge, glaring flaw in the blueprint. And in his last years, he threw down one final challenge to the country he'd helped create. And to really get this, we have to face a really uncomfortable truth about him. For a long time, Franklin owned slaves. His own newspaper even ran ads for their sale. But he changed. His views evolved. And late in his life, he actually became president of the Pennsylvania Abolition Society, working to end the very practice he had once been a part of. So his last big public move in 1790 was to send a petition to the brand new U.S. Congress. And just listen to his language here. He demanded they go to the very verge of their power to end the slave trade, calling it an inconsistency with the entire character of the American people. So right before he died, with this one last move, the great architect forced the nation he built to look its greatest flaw right in the eye. It sparked the first ever debate on slavery in Congress. He was planting a seed, knowing full well he wouldn't be around to see it grow. And that brings us to the end and to a pretty big question. Franklin knew his blueprint for America wasn't perfect. It was unfinished. He spent his last days trying to fix its greatest inconsistency. And his final act leaves a challenge for all of us, really. It makes you wonder, what are the inconsistencies in our American blueprint today? And what are we doing to fix them?